Good Friday morning, everyone. What a great week we had this week. What a warm week we had this week. And for those of you with allergies, wow, what a week that was as well. It was great seeing everybody on Monday morning at Willis, and I'm excited to see you guys again this upcoming Monday morning at Willis. Try to be there by 8:30 this upcoming Monday morning for our state test. Our state test that we will be doing this week or this Monday will be math. We will do both parts like we did for language arts in the morning, and it will be a good time, I'm sure, for everybody to come on in, at least see each other. That'll be the fun part anyway. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Monday morning. Don't forget to bring in your computer, make sure it's fully charged, and when you get there, you have your cell phones kind of turned off and put away, that you bring something with you to read afterwards, a pencil to help you with the test, to do some of the math, and a scratch sheet of paper, which we will provide for you, a snack or water bottle to bring as well, so that way you can have something during the test you can eat and have a little something to eat during the test as well. If you forget any of those things, especially the technology part, we will have those ready for you. Also, try to bring your headphones. I know a lot of the parts you don't need it, but sometimes it's helpful to have headphones in to block out the sound and everything else going and moving on around you. So those are some of the things that you can bring in this upcoming Monday. Well, let's talk about Friday. Friday is Vision Day. Girl with a Vision. This is written by Julie Winterbottom. You can see there is a lady there on a pretty cool looking horse there. It's got a really cool like blanket thing. I know there's probably a cool name for that I don't know. Maybe one of you guys know what this blanket thing is right there, but I think that looks really neat right there. So let's go on with Girl with a Vision. You can see the table of contents, and there she is. A World of Colors. When Sabrina Timberkin was growing up in Germany, Sabria Timberkin, should say that 10 times fast. Sabria Timberkin was growing up in Germany. Colors were her best friend. Cherry red, ice blue, caterpillar green. She loved them all. Not just because they were beautiful, but also because it helped her find her way through the world. Sabria was born with an eye disease. This disease is degenerative retinal disease. Made it hard for Sabria to see well. And she grew older, it got harder for her to see details. It was though she was looking out a rain-covered window, everything was blurry. She could only make out big shapes. She could see faces, but not frowns or smiles. She could see see fields and valleys, but not homes nestled in there. So this is kind of what she would see. If this was a face, someone standing in front of you, this is what Sabria would see. It's kind of what, how blurry it is. So if you know that someone's there, we know that it might be a female, but she's not quite sure because it's still so blurry for her, because she has a degenerative retinal disease. Colors by contrast were easy to see. Sabria used them to find her way. When she rode her bike, for example, she followed the green lines in her town's road. Wow, that's pretty cool. She's able to ride a bike and do that. Colors did something else too. They filled Sabria's mind and helped her develop an excellent imagination. Later, her imagination let Sabria dream a big idea that would change how other kids live. First, Sabria had to get through school, and that wasn't easy. Sabria was the only student in her elementary school who had trouble seeing. She wanted to fit in, but the teachers treated her as if she was helpless. They would make her enter the classroom first and leave before the other kids. Even worse, the other students made fun of her. That's not cool. They had tried to lead her places where they knew she would stumble and fall and then would laugh at her. Oh, that's not cool at all. Here's a picture of Sabria as a young girl. A school for blind students. Sabria got older, her eyes got worse. When she was 12, she became completely blind, and her parents decided to send her to special school for the blind students. Sabria's new school changed everything. It was the sun, as if the sun had come out after months and months of rain. At the new school, Sabria made friends quickly. The other kids understood what it was like to be blind. The teachers told her that to be blind did not mean she couldn't do things. Just she had to do them on her own way. She showed her how to read and write using something called Braille. In a Braille book, the pages had tiny bumps to form letters. Sabria learned to read by moving her fingers over the bump. Now she could do something the kids in her old school could not. she could read in the dark. Wow. Do you guys know anybody that is vision impaired, that may be blind? Maybe somebody that you know uses Braille to get around. I remember I went on one of my really good friends his dad is a Major League Baseball umpire, and one of the things he did, they were playing down at where the Cincinnati Reds play, so he invited us down to show up the stadium and get behind the scenes access. And I remember they were showing us the offices for the umpires, and it said, umpires enter here. And below that, it was actually written in Braille as well. And I kind of saw that and I said, hey, why is it written in Braille? You're an umpire. You need to be able to see. And I thought that was kind of funny. Now I remember, he's a Major League umpire and, the umpire is blind or whatever. So I thought that was kind of funny during that time. But in all seriousness, a person who's blind can do just as much as anybody else can do. And one of the really cool things that they can do that I can't do is they can read at night using Braille. Sabria's teachers also showed her how to walk using a long, thin cane. She swept the cane back and forth. If it touched something, she knew there was something there in her path, and she would have to avoid. Nothing was off limits anymore. Sabria learned how to swim. She learned how to ride a horse. She even learned to ski. Dang. I started to think, I may be blind, but I have a brain. I can do things. Sabria began to think what she came to know, that she was not limited by her blindness at all. She could do more than me. That's awesome. Learning about Tibet. One day, Sabria's teacher took the class to an exhibit around the region of China called Tibet. They learned that Tibet had many of the highest mountains in the world, and they learned about the history and customs of the people who lived there. So you can see here's a world map, Mercator projection map. You can see if you zoom in, this is China, and just the southwest corner of China, you can see Tibet. That's where the Himalayan mountains are. Basically, what's happening there is India and Asia are going like this. The two tectonic plates are going together like this. So something's got to happen. One plate has to go down. The two plates start to go up. And that's kind of what happened. And there's two plates are hitting each other and going up, forming that big, giant mountain range. So that mountain range is slowly getting bigger and bigger day by day, every day. The museum guide lets the students touch the objects in the exhibit. Sabria moved her hands across the wooden beads and metal tools. She got excited. She wanted to learn more about this interesting country and its people. A few years later, she did exactly that. In college, Sabria learned everything she could about Tibet. But when she told her teachers she wanted to learn the Tibetan language, they told her that she would never be able to do it because she was blind. Sabria ignored them anyway. When she found out that there was no Tibetan Braille alphabet, she invented her own. And it worked beautifully, and it gave Sabria her big idea. So you can see here, this is the Braille writing of Tibetan word for table. So this is what table looks like if they were to write it out, and this is what it would look like if it were to be in Braille. Sabria's big idea. She decided that she would travel to Tibet and start a school for children who are blind. She would teach them to read and write using the Braille she invented. She would also show them that being blind does not limit them. Many people told Sabria not to go to Tibet by herself. They said it would be too hard for a person who is blind. By then, Sabria was getting good at ignoring people who told her that she could do certain things. Finally, the day arrived. At the airport, Sabria hugged her parents goodbye. Then she boarded the plane for Tibet and by herself to start her own school. Sabria soon learned that children who were blind in Tibet had an even harder time than she did as a child. Many people in Tibet believed that if you were blind, it was a sign that you were a bad person. Most children never went to school. Some never went outside because their parents were afraid they would get hurt. Sabria wanted to tell these children about her school, but many lived high in the mountains. Their families were poor and did not have telephones or computers. The only way Sabria to get to them was to go in person. So she set off into the mountains with 3 friends. They traveled by horseback since it would let them reach their distant villages where there were bad roads, or no roads at all. They traveled along trails that were steep and rocky. Sometimes Sabria's horse had to leap from one boulder to another. One false step and they would tumble off the mountain. Luckily, Sabria was an excellent rider. When they arrived in each village, Sabria told the parents of children who were blind about her school. At one house, a blind boy named Chile came rushing out. A school, Paula, Amala, she said, using Tibetan words for father and mother. I want to go to school. Chile's father said he could go. This is like a dream for us, he told Sabria. It was a dream for Sabria, too. She was making a difference in other people's lives, other people's who blind's lives. A school of her own. A year later, Sabria opened up her school with the help from a friend, Paul Cronenberg. Chile was there along with her 5 other friends. Sabria was amazed how fast they learned. Soon they could read and write in Tibetan Braille. They learned English and Chinese too. They used a cane to go anywhere they wanted to go. They learned how to cook and play music and use a computer. More families heard about the school. Soon there were more than 30 students. So the students are feeling a special kind of painting. This is kind of art is meant to be touched. It does look like fun. Sabria's school wasn't all about work. The students also played soccer using a ball that had a small bell inside of it so they could tell by the sound. They went rafting down the rivers and learned how to ride horses, an important skill for kids who lived in the mountains. Climbing mountains. Sabria's imagination never slowed down. One day she got another big idea, this one involving a mountain. She had read about a blind mountain climber named Eric Weinmeyer. Eric Weinmeyer. Eric had climbed Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain. In Tibet, a several team of climbers. Sabria was inspired by what Eric had done, so Sabria asked Eric to come to school to teach the kids how to climb. 2 years later, Eric picked 6 older kids to go on an amazing journey. 3 weeks, they climbed the peak near Mount Everest. It was 23,000 feet high, almost 20 times taller than the Empire State Building. When Sabria, Eric, and a climbing team that included guides and a doctor, they crossed dangerous ravines. They hiked through snowstorms and marveled at how high up they had climbed. In their minds, they could picture the sky and the snow. That is kind of cool. Look at that. I mean, would you do that? I wouldn't even do that now. That's amazing. Big dreams. They didn't go to the top, but it didn't matter. They went further than anyone thought possible. They had proved they could do big things that most people in the world could not do, blind or not. Today, Sabria continues to follow her dreams. One of those dreams is to show her students that they can all do big things too. As she said in an interview, I hope they have their own dreams and we can make a better world. Yeah, what a good story, an uplifting story. It's always good to get a good uplifting story on a Friday. Understanding the genre. This is a biography. The story is a biography. It's about real people, real places, and real events. Nothing in this book is made up. The story is completely true. Biographies usually follow people's lives from when they were young to the present day. Many biographers, such as this one, Sabria Tiberkin, explain how people have done incredible things. These biographies often explain how a person worked to overcome challenges or created positive change in the world. Sorry guys, my allergies are really tough right now. My eyes are watering and my nose is running, so I'm trying to focus. I'm very sorry about that. All right, let's get to what we need to get done. So, first thing we need to talk about is Lexia. We should have 20 minutes of Lexia this week. We did Lexia on Thursday. Was it Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday we did Lexia. Make sure that you're getting your Lexia minutes done. This week it's only 20 minutes. And since we've already taken the Ohio State test, I'm going to keep it at 20 minutes. It used to be 40 minutes a week, but I'm going to cut it in half to 20 minutes a week. So we still need to do it. It's just I'm not going to be pushing the envelope like we have for most of the year on that. Same thing with ScoopPad. ScoopPad, you should have 40 points. 10 points for Tuesday, 10 points for Wednesday, 10 points for Thursday, and 10 points for Friday. So 10 points a day gives you those 40 points in ScoopPad ELA. Some of us actually by Wednesday were in the 30 plus range. So I appreciate those of you guys that are that far. I know this week in ELA, I believe Emma did not have to do ELA, but the rest of you guys did. So let's jump into science. Today, there's not much of a science lesson, more so of what you need to do for me. And that is you guys have an exam that's due to me by the end of day today, Friday. So let's go ahead and open it up. It's due on April 9th. And it is the exam April 9th. The Marine Life Lesson Exam. Go ahead and preview this. There's 11 questions. You can see here, when we talk about the Marine Life Lesson Exam, think about like question number 1. If you want to know small sharks and large sharks are the 2 top consumers in the food chain, which of the following pairs would you start your food chain with? Remember, where does all the energy in our ecosystem come from? Think about that. The sharks get energy from this place as well, so think about that. And marine food chain, such as a fish, and what does a sunfish play in ecosystem? So where is that sunfish at? What do you think? So obviously the sunfish doesn't come first, but where does that sunfish come? You got a true or false question there. I'm just kind of going into a couple spots. Ooh, number 5, I like this one. What is a major threat facing intertidal ecosystems? So the intertidal zones, those are the zones that we most see as humans, because not many of us go out into the deep ocean and go really deep underwater. So what is the biggest threat facing those intertidal zones? Is it habitat destruction caused by hurricanes? B, exceptionally high low tides? Or C, the mysterious disappearance of phytoplankton? Or D, pollination. I'm thinking of pollen, but it's not pollen. Pollution caused by human activities. Which one of those is not natural? Which one of those? There's 3 of them that happen naturally, and it's okay for those to happen because that's Mother Nature doing its thing. But there's one on there that does not fit in, that's not natural, and that should help you out with question number 5. There's one about a midnight zone. I know we talked about that earlier this week. I think Kisa mentioned midnight zone, if I remember correctly. All the way down to number 10 and 11. That's the 2 I want to get to. Which of the following human activities damage coral reefs? Think about the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. That one is, under attack per se. It's getting smaller and shrinking down. But why? What's happening? What's causing that? Is it overfishing, conservation, recycling, or controlling wastes? Which one is damaging? Think about what's damaging there. What's something that's damaging there that would damage a coral reef? And number 11, what is the most significant difference between aquatic ecosystems and marine ecosystems? So how is aquatic and marine ecosystems different? A, aquatic ecosystems are only found in bodies of moving water, such as rivers and dams. B, aquatic ecosystems are fresh, not saltwater. C, aquatic ecosystems are found in tropics and mangroves, swamps. Or the last but not least, aquatic ecosystems do not contain plankton. Which one makes the most sense? So that is your marine life lesson exam. How about that? Let's go, let's go to our mini mystery science, and we'll finish up with our language arts. So mini mystery science, how do we get there? So we go to Canvas, we hit log in. Oh, my throat's itching. Go to Online Academy 2021, and then we go to discussion, and we go to the one that is due. Today is the 24, number 24, yes, make sure I got that right. I think I have 25 posted. Yep, yeah. So 24, there it is. That's the one that's due today. Mini Mystery Science number 24. So before we get started, how do you think pencils are made? Put that in the chat box, or not chat box, but put that in your discussion box here. Number 2, what problems might you have if you used a feather in a jar of ink? And number 3, what was the most surprising, amazing, handy skill in Doug's mystery box? Let's watch some of this together. Oh, look at that pencil.
Hold on 1 second, just gotta finish writing this down. Hi, it's Doug. Okay, this is probably the biggest pencil you've ever seen, and I don't normally use a pencil this big, but I do like to use pencils instead of pens whenever I write things. Someone named Emiliano has a question about pencils. Let's give him a call now.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Emiliano.
I have a question for you. How are pencils made?
That's a great question.
Pencils are everywhere around us today. You probably have one near you right now. But pencils haven't been around forever. Have you ever thought about this? What did people used to write with before there were pencils? Now, don't let your mind go to things like pens or crayons or markers. I'm talking about a time before any of these things were invented too. How did people used to write? Well, one way that many people used to write was with one of these. It's a large feather. It's called a quill, and people would dip that into a jar of ink. You might have heard of this before. Now, to me, it actually sounds kind of fun to write that way. And it can be. People still occasionally write with these just for fun. But why did people stop using them? Well, think about it. Can you see any problems you might run into if you use a feather and a jar of ink to write?
So go ahead and put that in the discussion box. What problems might you have if you use a feather and a jar of ink to write?
Well, imagine you've got a jar of ink sitting there on your desk. You reach over to dip the feather in the ink jar and whoops, you drip some ink on the page. Or worse yet, what if you accidentally tip over the ink jar and spill it everywhere? To get around this problem, some people thought, well, instead of using a liquid like ink, why not write with something solid? For example, people had known for a long time that if you take a piece of wood and you burn it, it's what we call charcoal, it's actually pretty good at writing. Not only does charcoal not spill, it's also pretty easy to carry around.
That's cool.
Charcoal does have some other problems though. Turns out it leaves your hands covered in black soot. And even worse, it's soft and crumbly. Even if you had gloves on when you used it, you'd still get lots of little bits of it all over your paper. Well, enter the pencil. It's funny to think of the pencil as something that had to be invented. But it did. Everything about a pencil has been carefully chosen by someone to solve some of these problems I'm telling you about. You see, you've got this solid writing material there, so unlike ink, it won't spill. But it's encased inside of a piece of wood. So unlike charcoal, when you go to write, it won't get all over your fingers. In fact, that stuff inside a pencil, it's even better than charcoal. The stuff inside it, you hear people call it lead. It's actually a material called graphite. It's similar to charcoal, but it's not as crumbly, so it doesn't leave little pieces all over your paper. We don't know for sure who invented the pencil, but whoever did it must have been really clever. I mean, think about it. Look at this picture of a bunch of unsharpened pencils. How did they get the graphite inside of the wood like that? I mean, what do? Do they carve these long pieces of wood and then drill a tiny hole through the middle? It turns out the secret is to make a sandwich. Not a sandwich you eat, but a sandwich made of wood. This person is showing how some of the first pencils were made. Instead of 2 slabs of bread, he's got 2 slabs of wood, and he's applying glue to them. Then he takes a flat piece of graphite, and he puts it in between the 2 pieces of wood. He presses the top layer on that, and now he's got a type of pencil. So that's what the first pencils looked like. A flat piece of graphite sandwiched between 2 slabs of wood. You just sharpen it with a knife. Now, pencils today look very different, but they're still made the same way. If you look closely at an unsharpened pencil, you can see they're still sandwiches of wood and graphite. Have you ever noticed how some pencils look like they have a little line through them? That's because 2 pieces of wood were glued together, and you can see where they meet. Now, today, most pencils are made by machines in factories, like this. They start with flat pieces of wood. Each piece will be made into many pencils. Saws carve grooves into each piece of wood. Then, glue is squirted into the grooves. Next, it's time to glue in the pencil graphite. Here comes in the graphite, and as it goes around, the machine drops it into the grooves on each piece of wood. Then, another piece of wood flips on top, creating the pencil sandwich. Finally, saws cut apart all the individual pencils. So, in summary, the invention of the pencil solved many of the problems with writing, like ink spilling or charcoal making a mess. That's all for this week's question. Thanks, Emiliano, for asking it. Before you vote on next week's question, we put together some amazing visuals that we'd love to show you. Take a look inside, or if you don't have time, you can skip straight to voting.
Let's take a look.
Number 5.
Whoa. That is good. Huh. Wow. Wow. That's cool.
Number 4.
Taco fall. Rajon Rondo. What? Holy cow. Oh my gosh. What the heck?
Number 3.
Jeez. Impressive. Woo! Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Number 2.
Oh, I've seen dudes get really good at this. Watch these guys. 5 seconds. Gee whiz. One-handed. Dang. Less than 10 seconds, one-handed. It's amazing, dude. Oh, you can juggle them too. Oh my gosh, he's solving it. Oh my gosh. They're living in the Matrix, man. Bro. That's amazing.
And now, the last one.
Yeah. Elmer does that. No idea. How would you? The heck, dude? Bro, that's cool. Yeah, I'd wear gloves too. It's a cat. Meow. Whoa! I don't even like cats, but I'd hang that up in my house. So go in and do the mini mystery science. I'm curious of what you have to say for those 3 questions right there. That was a cool video. I'm glad we got to watch that together. That's really neat. So our next thing is we do need to get into language arts. So let's go ahead and open up your language arts Canvas page. We call it virtual reading around here, though. And we're going to go to the one that's due on April 9th, which is today. Let's scroll on down there. And, oh my goodness, we're way down here. And conjunction junction, what's your function? Sorry, it's an old song. Words that join. How do readers know which ideas belong together? In English, we use a special set of words called conjunctions to contain or connect ideas to each other. Sometimes conjunctions join two words together, and sometimes they join parts of longer words in a sentence. So let's get a little brief introduction to what a conjunction is. Oh wait, we're already connected. We need to disconnect. Sorry.
A conjunction is a word that joins two words or groups of words. The band played loudly and clearly. And is a conjunction. It connects the adverb loudly with the adverb clearly. We climbed up high until we reached her crown. Until is a conjunction. Until connects the group of words we climbed up high with the group of words we reached her crown. My sister ran in a race, but she didn't win. But is a conjunction. It connects two clauses to form one sentence. Are these bats or birds? Or is a conjunction.
Or is it
It's
scary?
used to connect bats and birds.
What conjunctions do you remember from the video? Well, got a couple of them. They used and until, but, or. Man. Small talk! Are conjunctions really necessary? Conjunctions are rather little, or are usually rather little or short words, but how important are they to readers and writers? Try reading the paragraph below with very few conjunctions. Sorry. Earth without separate continents would be a very different world. The oceans would be much larger. So would the land masses. In fact, there would just be one of each. You could travel throughout the world. You never need a ship or an airplane. You could just keep walking and driving. You reach water. Okay? Conjunctions make writing a lot more pleasant to read because they help the ideas flow smoothly from one idea to the next. How much more sense would a paragraph make when using some conjunctions were added? Let's now read it this time with added conjunctions. An Earth without separate continents would be a very different world. The oceans, it would be much larger, and so would the land masses. In fact, there would be just one of each. You could travel throughout the world and never see a ship or an airplane. You could just keep walking and driving until you reach water. Definitely flows a lot better. It definitely sounds a lot smoother. Conjunction hut. Can you recognize the conjunctions when you see them? See if you can find all the conjunctions in this paragraph and try to write some of them down. Koalas digest food very slowly but thoroughly. That's important because their main source of food is eucalyptus leaves, which contain just a small amount of nutrition. Koalas don't need a lot of nutrients because they are not very active. A koala will rest at least 16 hours a day and spend the remaining 6 to 8 hours eating. Their bodies are designed to get as much nutrition as possible from what they eat when they rest and sleep. So, what were the conjunctions in that paragraph? What were the ones that were listed in that paragraph? Man, my eyes are really itching. Koalas digest food very slowly, but is one. See, but is one. Because. And another one is because. And another one is and. And the last one is while. Did you get all of them? How many did you get? Do you think you could find them all again? So find the conjunction. So I would ask you, say we would have to try to find them again. Look for conjunctions when you read so you can learn more about them. All right, so which sentence contains a conjunction? We took our empty bottles to the recycling center. You can recycle glass and plastic at the center. Oh, I missed. There we go. Yes, because it has the word and. Leaves are falling, but it isn't cold yet. Cold air seems to go with leaves falling from trees. It has the word but in it, which is a conjunction. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, the button's not working. There we go. Hey, I like that guy's name. Adam likes to cook while Jody prefers to clean up the kitchen. Cleaning is not as much fun as cooking. We gotta go the one with my name in it. Baby penguins are raised by both of their parents. Male penguins keep the egg warm since their mates are far away hunting. Ooh, it's a tough one. It's actually going to be the bottom one. It got me. So the word is since. Since. That's a good one. The party cannot start until the talent show is ended. Talent shows often seem to go on forever. What do you think? Definitely that one, because the word until. Tamika asked her mother to let her spend the weekend at her friend's house. Or Tamika left the room because she didn't want to hear her mother's answer. So asked her mother to spend the weekend at her friend's house. Tamika left the room because she didn't want to hear her mother's answer. The word I think is because is the conjunction word. And that takes you guys to, everyone, to your quiz. It is a quick 2-question conjunction junction. What's your function? I want to find that now. I want to play it. You guys are like, what is he talking about? Conjunction, function. Wait, conjunction, junction. What's your function? Aha! There we go. Bingo. I hope this runs. We'll watch a little bit of this. I can probably guarantee most of your parents have heard of this song before. You should go up to her and be like, hey mom, hey dad, conjunction junction, what's your function? And I bet you they would know.
Grows bigger,
Your mind not small.
as your body grows bigger.
Your mind not smaller.
It's great to learn.
Cause knowledge is power. It's Schoolhouse Rocket, the chip off the block of your favorite schoolhouse rock.
Yeah!
Been waiting for conjunction junction.
This is before YouTube.
What's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Conjunction, junction, how's that function?
I got 3 favorite cards that get most of my job done.
Conjunction, junction, what's their function?
I got and, but, and or. They'll get you pretty far. And, that's an additive, like this and that. But, that's sort of the opposite. Not this, but that. And then there's or, O-R. When you have a choice like this or that. And, but, and or get you pretty far.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up 2 boxcars and making them run right. Milk and honey, bread and butter, peas and rice.
Hey, that's nice.
Dirty but happy, digging and scratching, losing your shoe and a button or 2. He's poor but honest, sad but true. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up 2 cars to 1 when you say something like this. Choice, either now or later, or no choice. Neither now nor ever.
Hey, that's clever.
Eat this or that, grow thin or fat. Never mind, I wouldn't do that. I'm fat enough now.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up phrases and clauses and balance.
So you'll have to ask your parents if they've ever seen that. Look at the views on that. 9.7 million views on that. So that's definitely a classic from when I was, actually it probably started before I was a kid, but this was something I remember a lot. It's conjunction junction. What's your function? You should ask your parents that. That is called Schoolhouse Rocks. Conjunction junction. What's your function? Well, anyway, let's move on to our afternoon that we're putting together here for you. So this is going to be the Polygons lesson quiz. So Polygons lesson quiz will be in math. So if you guys go into your math, and if you guys remember page 84 5, I believe, will give you a lot of helpful hints. Remember, we took those notes, and if I got the page number wrong, I'm sorry. But remember, just look at the email I sent you guys on Wednesday. That will be very, very helpful as you guys take today's math quiz. It tells you, how many sides of each different side of a polygon, what the prefix is, how many sides that is, what the shape of that polygon is. All that is in that email that I sent you. I took a screen grab, and I sent that to you guys earlier this week. Now I gotta try to find it. There it is. It's at the bottom here. I don't know why it was going up. Polygons lesson quiz. I believe it's page 85. Just to give you guys a quick preview of what that looks like. Hit preview. There you go. I thought I hit preview. Let's see. Get back on these guys. So, talks about hex. Remember hex? What does hex mean? How many sides does hex mean? Oct. How many sides does oct have? Remember, look at page 85 of that email. It should be very helpful. So quadrilateral is a special kind of polygon. Also, I think page 84 gave you that answer. Irregular polygon, well, we talked about that a lot. So how many sides does this have? Oh, wait, sorry, it's not actually sides. My bad. It's asking if this is regular or irregular. Now look at it. Come on. Let's see. I'm trying to go to the next one. Where's the one I want? Oh, yeah. How many lines of symmetry does a triangle actually have? In hept, H-E-P-T, hept, how many sides does that have? So hopefully your notes on page 84 and 85 will help you out tremendously to do the polygons lesson quiz. There is a brain pop that I would like to show you today. And let me go ahead and get that brain pop pulled up for you. Today's brain pop is going to be about heat transfer, the transfer of heat. So let's go into here. Yes, hot things can go into cold things. The transfer of heat. If there is heat, there is some sort of wasted energy somewhere. If there's heat transfer or if something is hot, that means energy is being used, whether it's mechanical or electrical or whatever it is, there's some kind of heat being used. And usually heat is the waste product of energy being burned. Just like if you put your hand on the hood of a car before you turn it on and then you drive your car around and put your hand back in the hood of the car, it's going to be warm. If you take some cold water, you put it in a pot, you heat it up, the water becomes hot because the heat energy from the water or from the burner heated it up. So anyway, this is going to give you a lot more details about this. So I want you guys to really focus in on change is being inevitable, especially when it comes to temperature. Hot things cool down and cool things warm up. It's because of heat transfer and the flow of heat from warmer objects. Hot always goes to cold. Cold never goes to hot. Here's a simple explanation for you. If we were in gym class, okay, and if I wanted to get you guys all to be hot and sweaty, what would I tell you to do? Sit still, don't move at all, or run 100 laps in the gym? Huh? Yes, the moving around is going to make you hot. Hot particles move. Cold particles don't move. Here's another example. You have ice cube versus boiling water. Which one's hot? The boiling water. Which one is moving? The boiling water. Because hot things move while cold things stay still. Hot always goes to cold. Right now, the sun is starting to go down here. It's 7:20 here where I'm at. So it's starting to cool down. But basically what's happening is the outside is actually warmer than the inside of my house. So if I open the windows outside, because it's like 70, 80 degrees right now, what's going to happen is the cold air in my house is not going to be going outside. The warm air is coming in. Hot does the moving. Hot moves things. And here is your video to explain that in more detail.
This is Moby, a self-published author. He purchased a half-calf caramel macchiato at a local coffee shop. But after writing about the rich history of the rubber band for just a few hours, his drink was ice cold. Ugh. The cafe wouldn't refund his money, and now he's suing. This is Tim, the cafe's barista. He says the customer is always wrong. Plus some know-it-all stuff about physics and molecules. What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors, they are actual litigants. Both parties have agreed to have their case settled here, before Judge Marilyn Mainframe, in our forum, The People's Court. Your Honor, I'd like to admit this letter into evidence, just as soon as I read it. Dear Tim and Moby, how does a thermos keep my soup from getting cold? Thanks, Mrs. Nichols' class. Now, Your Honor, Mrs. Nichols' class brings up an interesting point. Because, as we've all noticed, hot things don't stay hot. Once soup or cocoa or single origin fair trade coffee comes off the stove, it starts to get colder. And it'll keep cooling off until it's the same temperature as the room. Cold drinks do the opposite. They'll keep warming up until they reach the temperature of their surroundings. Yes, putting a cold drink in a thermos will slow the warming. Or the cooling if we're talking about a hot drink. So, the plaintiff's foofy espresso drink would stay hot longer. But not forever. Wait long enough, and that macchiato will be room temperature. Thermoses work because they minimize heat transfer. Heat always flows from warmer objects to cooler ones. And the greater the difference in temperature, the faster it'll happen. The only way to keep some coffee from cooling is to put it somewhere just as hot. Is the plaintiff suggesting I heat my establishment to 140 degrees? Because I really must point out, 140 is the only proper temperature for a macchiato. Sorry, Your Honor. I get a little carried away. Now, we've established that heat's always on the move, from warmer to cooler objects, and that a thermos can slow this process down. But to understand why, we need to get closer, a lot closer. Coffee, like any other substance, is made of tiny particles called molecules, and they're constantly jiggling and bumping into each other. In other words, they have kinetic energy, the energy of motion. Of course, we can't see any of this microscopic action, but we can feel it in the form of temperature. That's the average kinetic energy of all the molecules in an object. The warmer something feels, the faster its molecules are moving. I'm getting to the point, Your Honor, I promise. Because all of this microscopic motion is what makes heat transfer happen. First, through conduction, the transfer of kinetic energy by direct contact. When you hold a cup of coffee, your hands get warm. That's because molecules in the hot cup are slamming into molecules in your cooler hands. This is conduction. With each collision, the faster molecule slows down and the slower one speeds up. Multiply that by a bazillion molecules and you can guess what happens. Your hands and the air all around the cup absorb energy from the hot coffee, sucking away its molecular speed, which we read as a drop in temperature. But what if there weren't so many molecules around to bump into? That's one way thermoses minimize heat transfer. They're basically a bottle inside another bottle with empty space in between. It's a vacuum, a space with no molecules in it. So there's nothing there for the molecules in that hot bottle to bump into. Heat loss through conduction happens only at the very top of the bottle, where it's attached to the outer container. Well, there is one type of heat transfer that can go through a vacuum. It's called radiation. It also comes from the movement of particles, but on an even smaller scale. Molecules are made up of atoms, which you've probably seen drawn like this. Those little dots orbiting the center are electrons. When atoms are energized, like when they're heated up, electrons absorb some of that energy, but they don't hang on to it for long. They release the energy as a form of invisible light known as radiation. Molecules that absorb this radiation move faster, same as they would through conduction. That's why the inside of thermoses are often made of shiny substances. Since radiation is a kind of light, these materials reflect a lot of it back inside. Sorry, Judge, just a third and final type of heat transfer to cover. It's called convection, and it happens when a substance is unevenly heated. In convection, heat is transferred by molecules traveling from one place to another instead of just jiggling back and forth. That's why convection only happens in liquids and gases. They're called fluids because they have no fixed shape and flow easily. Heating water on a stove is a good example. The molecules at the bottom speed up, creating more space around themselves. This liquid becomes less dense or tightly packed, making it lighter than the liquid above it. So it rises through the heavier stuff away from the heat source. But then it cools down, becoming denser, so it sinks again. Warmer liquid rises and displaces the colder liquid at the top. This flow of material is called a convection current. This vintage coffee percolator works on the principle of convection, and it makes a wonderfully balanced cup of rendering a decision, but I was gonna froth some oat milk for my closing argument. One free half-calf caramel macchiato in a thermos.
Too hot? They always do an excellent job there, explaining and breaking it down and put it into simple terms that even I can understand. So I'm glad hope you guys enjoyed that short video there. So that takes us to me getting ready to sneeze. Don't sneeze. I didn't. Is our social studies, and we're going to learn about Colorado and Montana. Two really, really excellent states if you're looking to ever go on a trip. I know Montana has Glacier National Park. I went there a few years ago. Highly recommend going there. Colorado, you can do anything. Denver is a super popular city. You can ski there. You can probably ski there now. Also, just because I'm a cyclist, it has the highest points in the United States, the continental United States, that is a paved road. So for me, my big goal is to ride my bike all at the top of that, but most people just drive a car. And that mountain's called it's called Mount Evans. Mount Evans. That is a really big goal of mine. I was going to go do it last summer. We had plane tickets booked, had everything ready to go, and then COVID hit and plane flights canceled, the hotels canceled, and I couldn't go. That was a real bummer because I've been training for a long time for that. But anyway, I'll get back there someday, and we'll reach my goal someday. So Colorado and Wyoming. Wait, I wrote Montana. Whoops. Colorado and Wyoming. We did Montana yesterday. My bad. Sorry. I'm gonna sneeze. Don't sneeze. Don't sneeze. Okay. Wyoming. What does this state have to offer? Moving south from Montana, we arrive at Wyoming. One of the most famous places in Wyoming is Yellowstone National Park. Has anybody been there? You should go. Definitely you should go. Yellowstone National Park is really cool. There are all kinds of things you see at Yellowstone, including the most famous one, which if you go to Yellowstone, you have to go here. You have to go see Old Faithful Geyser. You can see buffalo, bison, elk, and more than 10,000 hot springs and geysers. The Grand Tetons are located near Jackson, Wyoming, are another spectacular place. These mountains are very interesting geologically. While the Tetons are one of the youngest mountain ranges, meaning that the mountain range itself is formed more recently than other mountain ranges, like the Appalachian mountain ranges. Mountain range is very old compared to the Tetons, and that's why the Appalachian mountain ranges aren't as high. They're a little bit more rounded than the Grand Tetons, which are more sharp and jagged. Younger mountains tend to be sharp and jagged, while older mountains tend to be rounded, like the Appalachian Mountains, because they faced more wind erosion and rain erosion and other forms of erosion. The rocks and mountains are made out of some of the oldest in the continent. Colorado, there we are. There's the beautiful Rocky Mountains. No, I don't know which mountain that is particular. A lot of the more famous peaks will have mountain range or have names, and many of them what they call them 14Ks. That means these mountains are 14,000 feet tall, and those are what a lot of hikers like to kind of hang their hat on and brag about. So how many 14Ks, how many 14ers have they climbed? And a lot of folks, a lot of the hikers will be happy to tell you how many there are there. They've climbed. So south of Wyoming is Colorado. Some of the main Native American tribes in Colorado are Cheyenne, the Arapaho, the Comanche, and the Kiowa. Western Colorado is dominated by the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains form a continental divide, which divides the United States into two parts. West of the continental rivers flow west toward the Pacific Ocean, and east divide the water flows towards the Mississippi River. So that definitely is a big difference there. Before the days of trains and airplanes, it would take months to visit a friend or relative who lives on the other side of the mountains. It was a risky trip, especially in the quarter. Many of the peaks in Rockies are more than 13,000 feet, but the more famous ones are 14,000 feet. and they all have different types of names. Rocky Mountain National Park. So why is northern Colorado so important? Rocky Mountain National Park is a great place to see elk, bighorn sheep, and numerous towering mountains. There are also many state parks in Colorado. You can go hiking in the warmer season, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing in the winter. And some very world-class downhill skiing. I'm talking like big, huge runs down the sides of mountains. These runs would take 45 minutes to an hour just to go down. Here in Ohio, and the ones in Ohio, you maybe get like a 10, 15-minute run, which is nice. It's good for what we have here. We have some good things here, but some of the better skiing, if you want to get big-time skiing, you want to definitely go to Rocky Mountain. You want to go into Wyoming, and even some people even go all the way up to Alaska. June and July are the best months to view wildflowers because of the spring comes a lot later in the higher, colder elevations than down the Rocky Mountains. So, for example, you only have maybe 2 to 3 months time period where you can actually ride a bike up Mount Evans because the weather is so temperamental there. There's also so much snow there. And so you got to hit that timing exactly right, otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So our trip was we were going to leave before sun even came up to make sure we summited and got down before noon, because if you stay up there later than that, then it starts to get really dicey with some of the weather. It's not as big of a deal if you're in a car, but if you're on a 17-pound bike, that's something you want to get off the mountain as quickly as you can. Also in Colorado are the fabulous Mesa Verde cliff dwellings. People lived in elaborate stone villages high in the canyon walls from approximately the year 600 through the year 1200s. In the late 1200s, all the people left their homes and moved away. Mesa Verde National Park offers visitors an opportunity to learn about the lives of the ancestral Pueblo people. And so that takes you to your quiz. This is your Colorado and Wyoming quiz. I would highly encourage you to go back into that reading there, or you can go back into the video have created here and use that to help you out answer this question. That's probably the best way of doing these quizzes. And then that takes us to Scoop Pad. Scoop Pad 40 points. I really want to hammer and make sure that you get your Scoop Pad done this week. This is the last day before school day before our big test on Monday, our math test on Monday. So get that Scoop Pad done. Let all that hard work pay off. So really grind out this last day. Make sure that you got all your Zerns done. You're caught up all the way through Mission 14, so Mission 15. Make sure you have all that done and all that caught up, because I really want you guys to be successful on this test coming up here on Monday. So really appreciate all the hard work you put in this week for Zern and Scoop Pad, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Monday morning. A quick recap here of things you need to complete. First thing you need to complete, there it is the Marine Life Lesson Exam. That is the science quiz. And then I would like for you guys to do the mini mystery science number 24. Remember we watched about the pencils. Then conjunction junction, what's your function quiz? That's at Schoolhouse Rock. Remember we talked about that a little bit. Your polygons quiz. Remember page 84 and 85 in your math workbooks. And also check that email I sent you, a screen grab. It should help you guys out tremendously on the polygons lesson quiz. Then we watched a heat transfer video. And last but not least is the Colorado and Wyoming quiz. Alrighty, so Monday, make sure you bring a computer. You bring some headphones. You bring something comfortable to wear, obviously. You're going to bring maybe a snack or water bottle, because it is a long morning. And as you saw, we don't have a lot of time between our tests. We really kind of got to cram in a lot in a short amount of time. So make sure you guys bring some of those things. If you have any questions or whatever, just send me an email anytime you want. And I'm meeting with several of you today on Friday to get you guys ready for the test. Let me know if you want to have a special meeting with me on Friday. I'm going to be available all day, so just let me know, and I would love to meet with you. So otherwise, have a great and wonderful weekend, and I'll see all of you Monday morning, 8:30 at Willis.